How's it going?
It's... Yesterday, my car died.
Oh, no.
And
What happened?
I'm going to give you the long version so I feel a little bit better and I can kind of like think about it.
You're good.
Yesterday, I was taking Xavier down to Boy Scouts. I dropped him off. I rolled down the window to yell, like, hey, I love you. And when I rolled down the window, I realized the radio turned itself off and on again. I'm like, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But for the past couple of days, my car's battery light has been on. But like when I start driving, it's like, turns back off. I'm like, okay, maybe because of the cold, the battery's acting a little bit wonky. But as soon as the car warms up, but the thing is that I drove to this place. So I'm like, it shouldn't be, it should be off now. It should be, acting right. And definitely never had a situation where the radio turned itself off and then back on. And then I had to go get medicines with CVS in Clearfield. So I drove down there and like, I looked down, I realized the lights on my dashboard are now no longer on. But the car's still running. I'm like, this is really, really weird. I should go down to AutoZone and have them do a battery check so I can confirm it. I pull out of CVS and boom, all the lights turn on, everything works the way it's supposed to. And I'm like, just because you heard me saying I'm going to AutoZone and you decide to start working doesn't mean that I'm not going down to AutoZone. Because I'm going down to AutoZone because you're acting weird. So I go down to AutoZone and they hook up their battery tester thing and they go, oh, your battery's fine, your starter's fine, your alternator's dying. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. How much are your alternators? And they're like, our alternator is probably $200. I'm like, I just got out of Christmas. I don't have $200. I was like, do I have enough to be able to get home? Like, where do you live? Hyde. Oh, well then, yeah, you should be able to get home. And I go, okay, if I'm able to get home, then that means I'm able to go pick up Xavier. I'm able to pick him up because he's on the way to home. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But that also means I can't just like sit in the car and let it run because that would also potentially drain the battery. I sit in the car, in the cold, waiting for him to come out. And he's supposed to come out at 8:30. So I start warming up the car. And as I'm warming up the car, like I turn the car on, I sit back, and all the lights show up at first, and then they start like slowly dying. And I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, okay, maybe if I just turn it off, I suffer a little bit more. I wait for him to get out. It's like about 20 minutes go by, and he finally comes out like, Dad, can you wait out here because I'm supposed to get a chair? And I'm like, I don't have the time to explain everything to you, but like, can we get it next time? Yeah, I guess we can get it next time. I'm like, cool. So he gets into the car, I make a left, and I need to cross like the main street, like the main street that goes one way. As I'm crossing the street, it's dying as I'm giving it more gas. I'm like, no, this is worse than before. Yeah. So there's another stop sign that goes, like, since the main street goes one direction one way, there's another street that goes parallel to that goes the other way. And that's how we get home. But there's a stop sign there. So we stop at the stop sign and then the car dies. The stop's moving. And I'm like, So I turn it off, but I turn it back on, nothing. It doesn't come back to life. It is just kapooski. And I am, in my mind, going, what are my options? What can I do? Who can I call? How much do I really have? Because, like, right now, I'm financially, I'm kind of, like, robbing myself to pay myself to do certain things. So I tried calling my aunt. She wasn't able to call back. I tried calling a friend that lives, like a neighbor here that lives near us. They were also busy. I was actually able to finally get a hold of my friend Stephanie, who was putting her kids to bed. I'm like, hey, my car died. Can you give me a jump? And she's like, yeah, I'll put my kids to bed. I'll be there as soon as I can. So it was not long. So like she only lived like up maybe like 7-10 blocks away. So yeah, it wasn't that far. But like as I'm waiting, I realized two things. One, it's snowing, so that's great. That's all. And right, like the worst possible time for it to snow would be like right now. So like the car that's already not producing any more heat is now being snowed upon. And the second thing that I'm realizing is that there is nothing that I can do to bring this car to life by myself. Just trying to go through my head, like, what do I know that I can, like, MacGyver my way out of this somehow? As I'm figuring this stuff out, like, at least two people, like, come on, I'm still on, like, I was planning to make a left onto one-way road, so I'm in the lane where people are supposed to be. So, like, because, like, when it died, it didn't, like, die slowly. It was one of those, like, I was gonna make a legal turn, and it was like, you're not doing anything else.
So, God.
So I have to like 4 ways on, which is draining the battery still, because you can see that like, when you hit the 4 ways, the dash lights will turn on whenever the 4 hazard lights turn off. So back and forth, they're just kind of bouncing back and forth. So I'm like, oh, it's just bouncing back battery energy. That's great. So people will drive by, and I think like at least 2 people will stop by like, hey, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, my battery died, but I have a friend coming. Well, so it was nice that people were able to help. But the last guy who asked, he was like, hey, I can help you move your car out of the main, like out of the path of this one way going into another one way. I'm like, yeah, that'll be awesome, that'll be great, thank you. So we do that, and then my friend Stephanie comes, and she looks like she literally just put on a jacket and a hat and left. So, and keep in mind, it's now snowing, so she doesn't have any kind of gloves, but neither do I, but I'm tougher, like I'm a little bit tougher than that. So I feel bad. I'm like, hey, if you have jumpers, just get warm in the car, crack the window open, so if I yell, you just understand what I'm saying. We hook up my car and her car, and my car comes back to life. I'm like, whew, great, cool. Let's give it a couple of seconds to juice up, then we'll be good, right? So, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes come and go, and I unclamp the clams from my car, and it immediately goes, what are you doing? Kind of like, oh. I'm like, no, do not, maybe I need to get inside the car and like pump it up a little bit. But the thing is that, I can't do that with the 2 clamps still in my hand. If I drop them, her car might honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen. I just assume it's not gonna be good. So I have to unhook her.
I don't either.
And then run back into my car and kind of rev it up, thinking that that will the alternator is not dead, it's dying. So if I just keep the alternator continuously going, then it should have enough juice to batter up the battery as long as I'm always going. And that's not what happened. So what happened is I immediately dies, straight dies. And I'm like, okay, you know what? New theory. We just need to get this car 2.5 blocks. The 2.5 blocks is a parking lot that I could leave the car at, and then I could just Stephanie can take us home, and then I can figure out how to do it from there. But to get to that parking lot, I have to get through a stoplight, and it seems like whenever I stop, that's when the car is like, oh, this is when you want me to die.
Just keep right here.
So we charge the car up again. I explained what I think that we should do, and Stephanie's like, sure, whatever you need. And once again, Xavier's in the car, and
how is he handling all this, by the way? What is he just chilling? Is this an adventure for him?
Me and him think similarly and differently at the same time. He's asking questions, which is good. I'm currently in a stressed out situation, which is bad. So, and he's kind of he's trying to understand what's happening while I'm trying to figure out what's happening and find a way to fix what's happening. So I don't yell at him, I don't scream at him. I'm just kind of okay, I need you to sit here and just focus on being warm. And and for me as an adult, that makes sense. Focus on being warm. Whereas for him, it's just kind of so sit here and be bored. When are we gonna get home? I'm tired. I'm if we were home normally, you'd be like, oh, can I stay up? Can I do everything else? But I'm look, I can only handle one crisis at a time. So let's figure this. So he's doing well, but he's also, I love my son, getting on my nerves. So I'm and keep in mind, I'm not even in the car a lot of times. I'm in the snow underneath the hood trying to figure out what can I do to be able to make this car at least make it to the parking lot. So we jump the car again, wait till 3 to 5 minutes. Keep in mind, the way that she has to jump me, she has to look at my car on a one-way, perpendicular to another one-way. So, she's almost obstructing traffic, and I'm all right, you need to figure out how to get out. And I know that I have a limited amount of time before the car goes, it's time for me to go to sleep. So, I unhook the car, and I immediately kind of toss the wires at her so I can get into the car faster. And I already told her before to hey, just follow me, so if something goes wrong, you see it, rather than oh, I'm behind her and then she needs to look at the rearview mirror and then find a way to turn around. And we get to the light. It's a manual car, so it is sputtering and jumping, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm either gonna break the car further or it's just gonna die before we get to the light. So we get to the light and then it decides to die as almost as expected. I'm like, all right, we're almost there, we can do this. So she needs to get, once again, we're at an intersection with a stoplight. and I am
Oh my
taking up the
God.
lane, so she needs to get into the intersection and come into me to face me so that the batteries line up, because the jump cords are not really all that long. So we're charging it for 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm trying to traffic people, like, just go around. The
Yeah.
lights are still on because they need to be on for legal reasons, but at the same time, when
Yeah.
it does that, it's draining the battery. So
Yeah.
it's one of those, like, oh, I see a car, and they go in, hit the button real quick, and then try to direct them, like, to keep going. And keep in mind, she's still in the intersection. She's still there, and like, I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe we can make it home. I don't know why that was my thought, that we can make it the 2-3 miles when it couldn't make 2-3 blocks. But I'm like, maybe we can make it if we let it juice up for a little bit longer. What I propose, there are 2 ways for me to go home. There's the main way that there is only one other stoplight. And that other stoplight is like an 8-way intersection. 4 in each, that, like one, like 2 from us to coming away, and like the same way, like all around.
Oh, I know what intersection you're talking about.
The one next to the quick flow and all. Yeah. So like, if we go there, we will be impending more traffic there than we would if we were go, I say, the back way. And the back way from that light is making a right, and then we have to go up a hill and then down a hill. And I'm thinking, okay, if I can make it to the top of the hill, I might be able to coast, and then coast the rest of the way into Hyde, which is where like the village that we live in. And I'm like, maybe we can pull this magic off. And Stephanie's like, do what you gotta do, however you gotta do it, and I will be here to help you. And keep in mind, as all this is happening, I'm also thinking, if I don't have a car, how's my son getting to school? If I don't have a car, he sees his mom today. How's that gonna happen?
Of course he does. Oh my God.
Donna,
dude, when it rains, it pours for you.
It's not even over. Donna's daughter is sick with flu A. We just went down to the ER yesterday. Earlier that day. We went to the ER earlier that day, and it's like, okay, well, if anything would have happened, you can take her right back to the ER because, it's the flu, and Donna's daughter, she has a compromised immune system, so she easily gets sick. So it's one of those, having a car that functions was like a really
So it's not just, my kid has the flu. It is, my kid has the flu, and this could easily turn into something else.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And not having a form of transportation means that, we would have to rely on either other people or like an actual ambulance, because before Donna was able to rely on her family who live close by, but they
just moved.
Yeah. So they're a lot further than what they were before. So that is very much, how do I figure this out? I'm thinking to my head, I'm like, who can I call? Who can I kind of set things up with, make deals with, that kind of stuff. Like, bend the story so that like it works in the future. And then what am I going to do about this car situation? Who do I contact to be able to, one, get it towed, two, get it repaired? Like, who's willing to work with me? Who have I worked with before? All this is going through my head. I'm trying to make phone calls and text messages out to people as I am also dealing with the situation at times. So I'm like, all right, Steph, we're going to go up the hill and come down it, because that's more of a back road, and we are impending less traffic. What I do, we charge it up about the 3 to 5 minutes. I'm still directing traffic. Whenever it gets done, I unclip it, and I have to watch her reverse into a lane backwards to go out, and to wait for me to go out, for her to go back and then follow me. You know what I mean? Like, she has to do like a cable maneuver to be able to follow me. But whenever she gets out of my way, I gut it. Boom.
Yep.
And up this hill has no streetlights. And I realized this because my car has decided to no longer produce headlight lights at night. But I can't slow down. And people see it. Like, people who are coming at me, they're blinking their lights. I'm like, I know.
Flashing their lights.
I know. Yeah. I wish I could do something about it, but I'm gunning it. And the car's like, kind of like, you can't do this. It's puttering, kind of go up the hill. I'm like, I need you to make the apex. I need you to make the top of this mountain so that we can come down.
Coast down. Yep.
And we get to the top of the mountain, and like, as we're coming down, it dies. I could feel it. So I'm like, that's fine. That's cool. This is part of the plan. And at downhill, it hits a pair of railroad tracks. That you then have to like veer to the left. And as I try to veer to the left, I realize the car's off.
No power steering.
No power steering at all. I'm like, time to Superman this, and I'm pulling it over, but I also have to slow it down now, reducing the momentum that I kind of had before at the top of the hill. So like, I clear the railroad tracks, I clear the turn, but because of that, I now don't have that momentum to make it to that stop sign. Yes. Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
So the car stops. I didn't think about this before. This is a one-way this way and a one-way that way. Enough road for a car to go this way, and enough room for a car to go that way. So like we're impending traffic, but on a different scale. So she needs to go back out, turn around, and then come to face my car again so we can try to jump it. We try to for 3 to 5 minutes, and we do the, like, okay, we think it's good enough, unclamp it, and I get into the car, and I still have to wait for her to turn, and the car is dying as she's making this turn. I'm like, okay, I just need to go and just kind of go around her. Not even being able to see her all that well, because once again, I don't have headlights. There is no street lights on this road. So I try to gun it, and I realize I am now stuck in snow.
Oh my god.
And then, and then the car dies because as I'm thinking like, oh crap, I'm stuck in snow, the car goes, hey, let me add something to that spice. So it dies. So I'm like, okay, so Xavier's trying to like, hey dad, do you need me to do something? I need you to stay inside and be safe. So I have one less thing to like, add to the formula of chaos right here.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to push the car a little bit as Stephanie is coming back like, what happened? I'm like, I got stuck in the snow, I'm just trying to push it out of the way. I'm pushing it out the way, and as I'm my head's down, my shoulders in, pushing it out, I look up and a police officer, like, hey.
That was about to be my next question, because the whole time I'm like, does Clearfield not have cops that patrol? Like, how did nobody ever see this happening?
I seriously thought that at the first stoplight, like, we are impending traffic tremendously. Yeah. How is no police? But I'm like, all right, I'm glad there's no police officers. That's one less thing I have to worry about. But as he calls stuff, he's like, hey, what's going on here? And I'm like, my car died, and we're just trying to, like, it died all the way in town. We got it down this far, and I'm thinking to myself, there's a church with a huge parking lot, not even a block and a half away. I could leave it there, and that's technically still in Hyde. Granted, it's away, but it's only 1.1 miles away from where I live. So, like, I know if I could get it there, at least one is out of the way, two
close to home,
is close enough to home, and like if I needed to be towed or whatever, it's not gonna be as far as if it was just in our driveway. At this point, my mind's like, it dies every block and a half, and that's with me praying and going through all the turmoil of it being on and no lights and everything else. So he's like, hey, is there anything I could do? I'm like, oh my god, yes. Is there anything you could do to help? And he looked at me because he asked me the question, and he's like, like what do you need? I'm like, can you fix this? And he's like, oh no, obviously I don't have the parts or the tools with me right now. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I could get you a tow. I'm like, all right, cool. Do you know of a tow and how much it might cost me? He's like, actually, I don't know how much it would cost you either. I'm like, well, I
that's
can't.
Not helpful.
It really wasn't. And I'm like, okay. All right, what can you do to help me in this situation where I'm trying to put my car out of snow that won't start, and we have to get it down like 2 blocks? Like, I could try to put my police bumper against the back of your car and push.
I thought that was what he might say, and just push. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a great idea. You just go on, turn around, and we'll try that whenever it dies next time, because I'm about to unhook it and see how far I'll be able to get closer to this church.
Yeah.
In the dark, at nighttime, with no headlight. The guy goes, okay, I got you, and he drives off. I immediately don't even look at Stephanie. I just grab the clamps, unclamp them from the car, hand them off to Stephanie, get into my car, and I gun it. On one side it is houses. On the other side is a railing to the river. So if I do this wrong, we're swimming. Right? That's how it is.
It's
so
bad.
I'm like, Stephanie's not really even out of her, like, in her car yet, and I'm trying to go around her quickly because I'm once again spinning on first gear, and I'm trying to get there as quickly and fast before it dies again, because that was the plan, and whatever I don't finish, you'll help me out with. But luckily, since I gunned it, and I'm doing my best to gun it, pick up the max momentum, and then let it coast, I was actually able to get to the church, and as I'm turning right to get into the parking lot, it dies. So I'm like, well, I'm at least kind of here. I don't even need him to push me. I can push the car the rest of the way. So I'm like, buddy, stay here. And he's like, I can hold the steering wheel, Dad. Like, I don't need you to hold it straight, but I'm gonna need you to pretend that you have enough strength to turn a wheel that doesn't want to turn on a 2-ton vehicle.
Yeah, it's surprising how much force it takes when there's no power steering. Oh my god,
So I'm pushing the car from the driver door, pushing the car in forward. Stephanie, the little frail girl that she is back on the back of the car, pushing. The cop shows up, and he comes up, and I see him in the mirror. He has one hand up against the thing, trying to push it forward. I'm like, thanks for the help, guy. I appreciate that. Once again, at that point, we were already the spot, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what? I appreciate everything you were able to do. Like the fact that you stopped, like you didn't have to, and everything else. So like, you know, well, maybe he did. According to Stephanie afterwards, she's like, oh, so people were kind of peeping that the fact that we were just like outside their house, and people and other cars, like, come on, one way each way. So someone had to go this way. They had to like slowly creep and make sure no one else was coming the same direction. There wasn't much traffic, but still. So right now the car is stuck over there.
Good Lord. So how long did this, from the time you picked up Xavier to getting to the church, how long did that take?
An hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
So that was definitely an adventure and a half. Still trying to wrap my head around everything that has happened.
Yeah, I bet.
Donna's daughter has an appointment at the end of the month. I'm not sure we are going to have the gas or a car to make it at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I have court on Tuesday. I need to figure out how to get there.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that.
So, like, and keep in mind, Xavier still goes to school. So I still need to figure out how he's going to get there on a daily basis. Like, you know, I have all these things that and apparently only I can be able to figure out, because if I don't figure it out, then no one's going to be able to figure it out. Kind of thing.